so I'm Dr. Stu, and this is Kara. We're going to go over the first foundation, which is called the neutral stance, which is the basis for everything that we're going to be working with today on those 10 easy steps. So this is basically setting the position for your body that's going to be structurally strong. Okay, so like it's like a Jenga puzzle. You've heard of those before,
right?
So if you have a piece that's kind of hanging off to the side, it's not really stable. You just need to pull that and everything falls down. So you want everything stacked on top of each other. Okay, so how we're going to do that, we're going to find that little bony prominence here on your hips. That's one sticking right here. Point straight down. Okay, and that's where I want your heels to be. Okay, so just so you guys know, that's called the ASIS right here, the anterior superior iliac spine. Okay, so and then on your instep, I want you basically to, from your heel to the front of the toe, I want you to point a straight line here. Okay, so point straight ahead. Perfect. Okay, so that takes care of our base. So next we're moving up to our pelvis. Okay, I'm going to have you give a gentle squeeze to your glutes. Pull your navel into your spine. Okay, and if your hands on your hips, you're going to feel your pelvis rock backwards just a little bit. Okay, so it shouldn't be a full-on activation of all these muscles, just a little bit. Okay, good. So that's there. Now you can relax your hands. Okay. Right back here is our shoulder blades or the scapula. I want you to just give a gentle squeeze. You've already got pretty decent posture, so you don't have to go too far. And then pull your shoulders down from your ears just a tad. Perfect. Good. And your head's pretty good position. Come back just a tad towards me. Tuck your chin a bit. Perfect. Good. So, and if I were a person working with somebody about their neutral stance, I would look for their ear hole. Okay, so right here, that's the ear hole there, also called the external auditory meatus. You want that to line up with the shoulder, the hips, and also the feet. Okay, and that looks great. So we're going to jump into the next move, which is the pelvic movements. We're going to start with the body in that neutral stance position. Okay, that was great. Hands are on your hips. Okay, so we call this the iliac crest. It's part of that pelvic rim here. So we already know a little bit about tilting the pelvis backwards from that neutral stance because you're squeezing the glutes, pulling your navel into the spine. So in order to get more of that posterior or backward tilting, you're going to activate the glutes a lot more. Okay, so really kick in those glutes and pull that navel into the spine, and you're going to feel that pelvis tilt forward. Okay, and you're doing this without sacrificing your posture. So you're not going to, round yourself this way to achieve that. It's everything is happening at that pelvis.
Just squeezing at the pelvis.
Yes, exactly. So the next thing is we're going to tilt the pelvis forward, anterior. Okay. So sometimes I like to tell people it's like you're cutting yourself in half, and this is the rim of the pitcher. Okay. And essentially what you're doing is you're dumping the water out. And if you can feel your low back increasing its curvature. Okay. So again, not sacrificing your posture, and we go back and forth. Okay. So anterior, posterior, pelvic tilting.
So that reminds me of the cat-cow poses in yoga.
Yes, exactly. It's also called the midnight motion as well.
That's good for lower back too. The midnight motion.
Yeah. So you can add that to your repertoire.
Okay, great. Yeah. I like that better than cat-cow.
There you go. All right. So the next one is going to be lateral. Okay. So we're going to put a soft bend in the knees. Okay. And essentially, if you think of a string attached to your hip bones here, and they're pulling up this way. Okay. So we're going to shift our hip to one side. Okay. Without arching the back. Okay. And then we're going to shift to the other side. Okay. So again, it's like pulling up on this side. And then
I want to do the hand motion. I like that.
Yeah, you like the hand motion?
Yeah, it kind of helps.
Turn yourself into a puppet. Yeah, there you go. Good.
New dance moves.
Yep. Good. So one of the key errors that can happen here is that people start to rotate or they arch the back too much, and you want to avoid that. So keeping everything nice and tight, and then just going in that lateral plane. Okay. So we call that a coronal plane. Okay. So then the next one is basically a compilation of what we just learned. Okay. So we learned anterior posterior, which is forward backward. Okay. And then lateral. Okay. So side to side. So we've almost formed a cross here. Okay. So now what we want to do is connect that outer rim. Okay. So it's going to be a circle, clockwise and counterclockwise. So if you start with your posterior pelvic tilt, tilting backwards. Okay. And then you're going to shift around to one side. Okay. Start to create that anterior pelvic tilt. Good. And then come around the other side. Okay. Good. It's almost like a belly dancer. Yeah, they're excellent at this.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, without sacrificing posture.
Okay.
Okay, and then we'll go the other way. Okay. So maintaining smooth rhythmic controls of this movement is essential because you're firing up all the different core muscles that are going to be protecting your body in all the advanced moves.
So no need to go fast. You want
No, yeah.
to take it nice and slow.
Yeah, absolutely. Slow and smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Then you can speed it up.
Okay.
Because eventually midnight motion needs to kick it into gear.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
great.
Yep, cool. All right, so the next thing we're going to work on is the pelvic floor contractions, which is also known as the Kegel, whatever, potato, whatever you want to call it, okay? So again, you want to try and start with this in the neutral stance.
Okay.
You can also practice it lying down, sitting, okay, in various positions.
Okay.
So there's really not a whole lot to demonstrate, but we'll kind of use Kara as a talking point. But again, you may see, if you start kind of thinking about what I'm cueing you towards, you may see your body change and again favor that posterior pelvic tilt position. Okay, so one of the things I recommend people is when you're in the bathroom and you're you're urinating, you want to start and stop the urine flow. That is really just to identify the muscles that you have to contract to achieve that, okay? That shouldn't be your only practice method, and that shouldn't be like, how you're gonna be doing your Kegel exercises all the time. Okay, so it's just to identify the muscles, and then you can stop peeing.
Practice elsewhere.
Right, exactly. The other one is also like, what are the muscles that you have to contract to stop from passing gas?
Right.
So again, it's like you don't have to try and pass gas all the time in order to fire up your Kegel muscles or your pelvic floor muscles. Okay. So again, you're going to feel your glutes tighten, okay, pulling that navel in, and you're basically tightening up this section right in through here. Okay. So from the top of your thighs up to about the rib cage.
I can feel that from the thighs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And the harder you contract, you actually start to close some of those sphincters that actually stop the the flow of the urine.
Okay.
So, okay. So like I said, if it's hard for you to do it, first identify what muscles, then start being able to hold the muscle contractions for about 5 seconds, build it up to 10. Once those become comfortable, increase the number of reps. Typically for a woman who's getting ready for labor, I'm going to say anywhere between 250 to 500 Kegel contractions a day. So that's how much those things should be firing on, because it's so important in the birthing process. And just as a side note, because I've been in pain management, family practice, I've had patients that have come in that deal with severe pain in this entire region, whether it's with their sensitive organs or internally in the abdominal region, and it's typically because they've had some sort of surgical procedure to remove something. If you remove something, mass is leaving your body. You have to restructure and re-identify what's happening there. So this is a great exercise along with the neutral stance to reestablish what your new normal and to support that. So, okay, great. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is lock and load. So this is actually more of a concept than anything. And when we were doing the neutral stance and then getting into some of the pelvic floor contractions, that's essentially what locking your core, or your pillar is all about. So your torso down to, again, about the top of your thigh, I'll actually say about to your rib cage, is the main area that we want to maintain stability, Therefore, eventually we can create a lot of mobility in the shoulders and in through the hips, That's where we generate power, especially with the athletes that we work with, So when you create that glute squeeze, pulling the navel into the spine, you're creating that neutral position here, and that's starting to lock everything into place. So your pelvis comes in, and your rib cage comes down just a little bit. So if I were to draw two lines, it's almost like if I had two angles here, and they basically close in. So the load part is, now we start to load. We actually do some exercises, but we maintain the integrity of this area right here. Even if it's rotational, you still can maintain spinal integrity in through here, because we're protecting all the abdominal organs, we're protecting the spine, the spinal cord, and all its elements. These are the things that your body wants to keep safe at all costs, because if we don't have these, we're not around. So,
Great.
That's lock and load.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next drill we're going to get into is planks, okay? So I really have shied away from the traditional sit-up because it's very two-dimensional, okay? You're only activating muscle groups in one direction, and it's not a completely functional exercise. Whereas the plank creates a lot of stability and requires you to fire a lot of the muscle groups, and then again starts to prepare you for much more advanced movement. Okay, so we're going to employ a lot of things that we've already done, some of the light posterior pelvic tilting, and then the pelvic contractions while we're in this position. Okay, so in order to protect your body and your shoulders, okay, we're going to start with the elbow planks. Okay, so I'm going to have you place your elbow in here directly underneath the shoulders. Okay, all right. And as you get into position, I'm going to actually have you keep your head in a neutral position, so you're basically be looking at the floor. Okay, because if you look up, you're going to put your head in an extended position, and that cranks on your neck.
I can feel that tension there.
Okay. So what we're going to do is have you kick your feet out. Okay. Good. Bring your butt down a bit. Perfect. Squeeze those glutes. Pull your navel into your spine. Perfect. Okay. And then try to breathe normally through your nose, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Okay. Good. And then you can come on down. So what I would recommend if somebody's not familiar with that, just try getting into the position and then coming out. And then also, as you get stronger, then build up some time there. So 5 seconds to 10 seconds. Ultimately, you should have some good strength where you can hold it up to 1 minute to 2 minutes. Okay. So the other, another position that you can achieve the plank is on your hands, which is basically the push-up position. So same thing, you're going to put your hands directly underneath the shoulders. Shoulder width apart. Yep. Same thing, head looking straight ahead. You're going to kick your feet out. Good. Okay. Squeeze the glutes. Good. Perfect. And tighten up the abs. Okay. Perfect. And done. Okay. So I am going to segue just a little bit because we find this kind of often. People tend to do the quote-unquote girly push-ups, and I don't like to call them that.
Yeah, we don't like you calling them that.
We don't like that, yeah. So basically a regressed form of the push-ups, okay? People like to do them on the knees like this, okay? Well, this isn't really a great position because you really cannot activate the glutes. Okay, so rather than trying to do push-ups on your knees, try and find a surface on the wall or on the steps, because you can find that elongated position where, again, when your legs are extended, this is hip extension, okay, and basically you can start to fire up those glutes when you're in that position there. So I just wanted to add that because it's a common thing that I see, and again, for movement purposes, it's not the ideal thing for activating what we need in our body.
Great.
Okay, great, excellent. All right, so the next exercise we're going to go over is full depth squatting, okay? And this is, out of all the exercises, this is probably the most important in my opinion, because it creates a lot of mobility in through the hips while maintaining stability in through your core or your pillar. Okay, so you're locking and loading the entire time. And a lot of people have problems with the hips because that sacrum area where the tailbone meets up, so if you can focus on there, just like here on me, it locks up with the pelvis, okay? And that creates a whole slew of problems. So we're gonna get into full depth squats, okay? We're gonna break it up into 3 different parts though, okay? So we're gonna first do a third of a squat, then a half of a squat, and then the full depth squat. So first thing is foot position, okay? So typically what I'll tell people, there's 2 ways. Either a little bit wider than shoulder width, feet pointed straight ahead, okay? All right, good. Or there's a second way, and this is from my good friend Nathan Baxter, who's an international powerlifting champion. He has people put his feet together, pointed straight ahead, okay? Good. We're going to turn the feet out 45 degrees each way, so now you've created a 90-degree angle there, good. Come up onto the balls of the toes, square the feet up, good. Another 45 out, good, and then square up. Okay, so this is your squat stance.
I like that.
Okay, yep.
That's an easier way to kind of know you're in the right.
And then if you've gotten enough reps with this, you know exactly where your feet are supposed to be. Okay. So now here's the other key thing: is your points of contact into the ground are going to be the heel, okay, the ball of the first toe, and the ball of the fifth toe. So those 3 points are your points of contact that I want to maintain every single time.
Okay.
Okay. So the first thing that we're going to go through is the third of the squat, which the main key point here is bone rhythm. Okay. So this bone right here, okay, this is the femur bone. Okay. So you've got the hip joint here, and you've got the knee joint. And essentially what I want them to do, those two reference points, I want them to go opposite directions, same rate, same time.
Okay.
Okay. So basically when you start, so I'll demo really quick. Okay. When I start to bend my knees, I bend at the hips. Okay. Maintaining stability here. Okay. Most people, they like to just kind of sit back.
Right.
Okay. Which that sends their center of gravity backwards. I want to maintain that center of gravity over my force generator, which is my quads. Okay.
So they need to work together,
Yes.
essentially.
Perfect. You just did it.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. So I want you to pull the navel into the spine though. Okay, so you don't arch too much back here.
Okay.
And I want you to hinge more at the hips. Okay. Good. Take some of that bend out of here.
Okay.
Come forward more, come forward, come forward, come forward, more. There you go. Good. Feels different, right?
It does, yeah.
Yes. So people that have back problems, you can come on up now.
Okay.
So when people have back problems, they actually put a lot of arch into the back, and basically now they're basically crushing the elements in their spine, and they're relying on that for stability versus the musculature here.
Okay.
That's why lock and load is so key.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Perfect. So let's try that again.
Okay.
So I'm going to cue you from your hips and your knee. Okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to push the hips back and the knee. I want you to maintain this. Okay? All right? Good. Perfect. Good. That's your third. Okay? Come on back up. Okay, great. So now we're going to move on to the half of a squat. So same thing, you're going to do that bone rhythm, okay? And then I'm going to put my hands on your knees from the outside. I want you to give me some outward resistance there. So, okay, perfect. All right, so have you first start that first third of the squat here. Good, perfect, good. Okay, stop right there. My hands are here, push out, okay? Push out real hard, good. Start to drop. Perfect, and that's your half of a squat right there. Okay, good body position. Feel okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, keep pushing out. Come on back up. There you go. Good. Did you feel some other things engage when you were when I put my hands there?
The one thing I was going to say is I didn't feel any stress in my knees, which sometimes I do when I squat, and I felt really stable.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I'm glad you said that.
I felt like I was using the right parts versus when I don't have the right form, I start to feel at my knees.
Yes, right. And I'm glad you said that because from the previous practice that we ran was pain management. All we did was take care of knees that were, falling apart, inject them with steroids, visco supplementation, you name it. But the problem is, it comes down to movement. Okay, most problems at the knee don't come about because of knee problems. It's a lack of mobility at the hip and at the ankle. So that's why we first focus on the hip. Okay, so if you have mobility here and here, that is going to work. Okay, so and your loading point, your force generator, is your quads. Okay, so now we're actually going to go down to the full depth squat. Okay, so same thing, the first third, bone rhythm. Through that, through the next phase to that half squat, push out. Then I'm going to have you push out even harder. Okay. And what you're going to see is, actually we'll repeat that. Okay, we'll go to the half because I want you, if you can, zoom in on the feet. Okay, we're going to put you straight there. If you can see, if you drive your knee in, do you see what happens there? Your foot drops in. Okay, we call that pes planus or flat foot. Okay, so basically we're taking all the forefoot, which is basically like your wrist, okay, and driving that into the ground. So you're jamming all those joints, okay? Versus if you were to create an arch and bring that foot up, you actually start to utilize ligaments and muscles to create power. Okay, so you actually now have got a spring underneath your feet. Okay, so you'll start to see and feel some of those changes as you push outwardly. And one thing I forgot to mention is when you push out, your femur right here, it actually turns out. Okay, so we call that external rotation. So the important factor for that is in the hip. Now you've got all the ligaments, we call fascia, and then muscles that actually start to rotate in and create a lot of stability in through that hip socket.
I could feel the fire in my quads without any weight. So.
Yep, exactly. Versus if you're to drop in and drop your knees inward, that actually creates a lot of laxity in the hips, and then there's a lot of moving around inside that hip socket. So, okay, great. All right, so we're gonna first start the first third. So again, bone rhythm there, perfect. Start to push out hard, drop to the half, good. Push real hard now, good. Push, 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 push. Keep going, good. Now when you get to the bottom, I want you to take a deep breath in through your belly, push your belly out, good. And drop your belly button. Think about pushing your belly button or your navel to the ground, and you see how your sacrum just drops there, okay? So now I'm gonna have you come up, push out real hard into my hands, push, 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 and straight on up, good. Yet the whole time you maintain stability here, which was great, okay? Because that allowed your leg to rotate where it needs to be.
It's funny because I would think if I'm pushing out, it would hurt my knees, but you're right, I can feel that spring that kind of powers me up. Exactly.
So this is the basics of an air squat. And then when you hold a weight in front of you, that's more of a goblet squat, okay? So not a whole lot of difference there. Now you've got a counterbalance in front of you. When you start getting into front squats and back squats, your mechanics change a little bit more. But this is more for rehabilitative purposes, so that's what we're gonna focus on.
Great, that was very helpful.
Awesome job.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so the next exercise we're gonna do is wall-facing deadlifts, okay? So how we approach the weight is the same stance with the squat, okay? So again, a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, okay? So when you step up to this, your feet are basically gonna be cut this way in half by the handle of the kettlebell.
Okay.
Handlebell. Can't talk.
That word sounds good to me.
The handlebell?
I like that.
It's a new word.
It
handlebell.
makes sense.
All right. So let's have you step up there. Okay. So it's not too different from the full depth squat. Okay. But you're going to, in order to prevent your face from planting into the wall, you're gonna have to hinge at the hips a little bit more. Okay. So definitely, as you go down, start to push the knees out. Push, push, push. Good. Stabilize that core. Okay. Nice flat back here. Good. Load that a little bit. Feel everything tighten up.
Yep.
Perfect. Release the weight.
Release it.
Okay, and then come back up. Okay, so nice tight position there, right? Okay, perfect. So now that that's comfortable, we've identified there's no pain.
Right.
Go down, and then this time we're going to actually have you pick up the weight. And then when you come up, squeeze the glutes, lock out those hips there for me, okay? Good, excellent. Good, nice tight core. Activate the abs, pull the navel into the spine. Good. Squeeze the glutes, finishing that hip extension. Come back down. Nice. Excellent. And come on back up. Very nice. Great. That looked awesome. So as you get comfortable with that, we move the weight a little bit closer. Okay. That forces you to hinge a little bit more at the hips, so that you really don't scrape against the wall.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So how did that feel?
Good.
Yeah? Awesome. Excellent. Great form.
Thank you.
Good job. So the next exercise we're going to get into is kettlebell swings, okay? So we've already started to morph from squats into deadlifts, okay, which is more of a bending motion. This is really going to accentuate that hip motion here, okay? So the thought process is almost like if you're going to bend forward and pick something up, but a drill I like to give people is like stepping maybe a couple of inches away from a wall, okay? And then you're going to bend forward at the hips to try and touch your butt to that wall. Right. Okay, good. So and then you'll typically feel that
activated.
Yeah, exactly, through the glutes, hamstrings. Okay. So I'm going to demo this a little bit real quick. Okay. So as I'm showing you, I want you to identify what's happening at the hips. Okay. Because this is what's going to generate the movement of the kettlebell, the weight. Okay. Okay. And then also throw in some things that are some common errors too. All right. Okay. So the first position is to pick up the weight properly. You could either pick up the weight like you did with the deadlift, right? Or this is another position which they call a silverback position, okay? So just like a silverback gorilla, it's a power position. Your legs are wide base. You get in your hand position like this, okay? Right. And as you start to lift the weight, it'll start to swing backwards, okay? So if you can divide your body into an upper portion and a lower portion, this is where the action is happening here. Okay. You can have a slight bend in the knees. Okay. I like to. Yeah. Right. So, but there's so many different variations. Yeah. Okay. So I'll start by this, picking up the weight. Okay. Let it swing, and if I have a light little action in through the hips, the weight doesn't have to go very far. Okay. Yeah. But I'm focusing on squeezing my glutes as the weight comes forward, okay? If I have a faster motion, the weight's gonna go higher, okay? So I'm snapping my hips.
Gotcha.
And you see how the weight whips through a lot faster, okay? Now what I don't want you to do is to go like this, you start using your low back.
Right.
Again, you start crunching, okay? Right. And the other one is people want to get height for the weight, so they use upper body. Yeah. And they do this stuff, okay?
More arms.
Yep. This is not an upper body exercise, okay? So again, back down, okay? Let it settle. This is rehabilitative. It's to focus on the action of the hips, firing up the glutes. You're going to get a little bit of hamstring activation.
This is perfect for a bikini body, for us bikini competitors.
Yes.
We're all about that glute.
So all my female athletes that come in,
yeah,
they want the Brazilian butt. I got plenty of exercise for Brazilian butt.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Good. Nice lock and load that core.
Yeah, so I feel it activated in my glutes.
Yes, exactly. Good. Very nice. Good. And the faster those hips come through, good. You lock that up. Nice. Good.
That'll make your buttons sore.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yes.
That'll be perfect.
So excellent for aesthetics and also function.
Yes.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thanks.
Good job. Okay, so the next drill we're going to do is a thoracic mobility, okay? And this is one of the systems that I've studied. It's called Z Health Performance, and they're based in Tempe, Arizona. The co-founders are Dr. Eric Cobb and Kathy Marc, and I have utilized a lot of their systems to help with the efficiency of athletes, okay? So in the moves that we've just done with the squat, the deadlift, the kettlebell swing, even though we have a solid core or a pillar, we have to have some sort of mobility here as well, because that eventually will affect our range of motion at our shoulders and also at our hips, okay? So I'm gonna have you put some reference point on me, and then I'll kind of talk you through it a little bit, okay? So this is our thoracic spine, okay, from basically the bottom of the neck, okay, down to the bottom of the rib cage. And there's 12 bones, 12 vertebrae that make up that part of the spine, okay? So we'll pick the middle area, which is a little bit easier to focus on. As we move away from midline, it becomes a little bit harder, you know, to perform the movements. So the movements are not really going to be dynamic like our shoulders, but more, a little bit smaller, a little bit more refined, okay? So I'll have you put your finger here on me in the front, okay? And then directly on the opposite side on the back. Okay, so again, we're in our neutral position, okay? Nice tall posture. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna send the vertebrae forward and backwards, okay? So anterior and posterior, okay? So if you watch me move the vertebrae forward, okay, you're gonna see the chest kind of pop up a little bit, okay?
I can feel that pop out.
Yes, so male, female, I'm basically gonna say move your chest upward that way, okay? And when I send the vertebrae backwards, you almost feel like a rounding happening there.
Right.
Good. So we call this the dowager's hump. So later on, right, you know, this is the very unattractive.
The little old lady at the grocery store.
Yeah. The problem is, and I'll show you really quickly, is when I start to do this, my line of sight is now at the floor.
Right.
But life doesn't happen at the floor. So now I have to pick up my head to see what's going on, right? So now if I were to stand up and not change my neck position, watch what happens. I'm basically walking around all day with my head cramped up. Right? Yeah. Okay, so I'll show you one more time the forward, backward. Okay? So we're gonna move anterior, forward, and backward, posterior.
Which that reminds me of what we did with our pelvis, with moving it forwards and backwards.
Perfect.
That same concept.
Exactly. One of the common errors, though, because there's the shoulders involved here, is that people start to flap their wings here. Okay. So that's what we want to avoid. We want to actually create everything from the spine. So, okay. So the next movement is we're going to add a little bit of rotation. So I'm going to pretend like your fingers are a rod going right through me. Okay. And I'm going to try and pivot around that point. And this is where you really need a coach. Okay. So this is where you're helping me. Okay. So I'm trying to rotate around that spot, okay? And I may not even be perfect there, so this is where I need somebody to give me feedback and tell me exactly what am I doing, okay? Because sometimes I can engage some of the lower things, and I can start doing some of this stuff, and that's what we don't want. So I want to be very specific. So you see the movement's really not that big.
Just a small.
Yep, okay. And so the next one is lateral, so side to side. So I'm going to basically
Okay.
try and shift your fingers to the side.
Yep.
Okay, so see how I'm trying to move my body to the side there?
Yep.
Okay, good. And then just like the pelvis, like what you said,
Right.
we've got the forward, backward, and we've got the lateral, so we've got the cross. Okay. Now I want to connect the perimeter. Okay. So basically, I'm going to start with chest forward. Okay. Move that back around to the side.
Yeah.
Go back. Okay. Out to the right and forward. Okay.
Yep.
Good. So we can do counterclockwise. Okay. And then clockwise. Okay, and you want to try and study that at each level of the thoracic spine. And like I said, as you move away from midline, especially up top, it's going to get a lot harder and the movements are probably going to be a lot slower.
Right.
But if you can establish that kind of control, you will lend a lot of that mobility back into the shoulder and into the hips. So many people that come in with frozen shoulder, adhesive capsulitis, that's kind of the thing is, hey, I can't reach for something in the cupboard.
Right.
It's because they're so locked in this postural fault
Yeah.
that they really can't reach.
Right.
But the thing is, if you correct this posture right here, not only do you make yourself taller,
Right.
you take stress off of your body, but now all of a sudden you can actually start to reach for things because you're no longer compressing your body.
Right.
So
Wow.
cool. Does that make
Awesome.
sense?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
So thanks, Coach.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So the next two drills we're going to focus on are also Z health drills, okay? They're not necessarily movement drills per se, but they're to stimulate parts of our brain, okay, that may be lacking in function. So in the Z health community, we're basically dealing with neural function and how our body operates, okay? So we define it as a map, okay? If I were to send you to a foreign country, would you want to go there with a fuzzy map or something with a pretty clear map?
Right.
Clear map, right?
Yeah.
So these things are to reestablish function in the brain, and we're going to be working with your eyes. Okay. So something called a vertical saccade. Okay. And then something called near far focus. The reason why I've found in my practice that these really benefit people with low back pain is because the pathway going to the brain that controls these movements actually stimulates a part of the brain called the PMRF, which is called the pontomedullary reticular formation. It's a mouthful, right?
Oh, I know all about that.
Yeah. So, and that really what that does is it focuses on control, coordination, muscle tone. So if your low back muscles are fired up, starting to clear up some of the ability to, create that visual control, starts to let loose some of that tension that's in the axial spinal muscles. So,
Yeah.
So the first one's going to be the vertical saccade. Okay. So I'm going to have you get in your neutral stance. Perfect. Okay. So let me have you turn that foot in just a little bit. Perfect. Good. Okay. So nice tall posture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an object to focus on that's up here. Okay. And then down here. Okay. So, and saccadic movement basically means you're focusing on one object and then you're going to snap your eyes as quickly as you can to the other object. Okay. So focus on this top thumb. Okay. When I say go, you're going to snap your eyes to the bottom thumb. Ready?
Yep.
Go. Perfect. Ready? Go. Awesome. And we're going to go back and forth a couple times. Go. 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 Excellent. Okay, and that's a vertical saccade.
Okay.
So as you get better at it, what I do is I actually increase the distance, of the challenge. So it makes it a little bit harder.
Right.
Another thing too is you want to actually establish some rhythm. So, there's tons of apps you can get on your phone, or if you have a metronome, you just set like a time, and then you actually have the person snap back and forth to the rhythm of that metronome. So,
Great.
So the next thing is going to be near far focus. Okay. So we're going to use your hand a little about 6 inches close, from your face, or 6 inches away from your face.
All right.
Okay, and we're going to pull that away from midline slightly. Okay. And then we're going to use that grommet on the batting cage up there. Okay. So I want you to focus on that spot on your hand. Okay. Nice tall posture again. Okay, so when I tell you to switch, you're going to look at that grommet with your eyes only. So keep your head still. Okay, ready? Go. And then switch back when I say go. Go. Good, perfect. And what I'm looking for is to see, are your eyes actually focusing, moving together, and what speed are they moving? Okay, so we're going to do that a couple times. Go. 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 Perfect. Good.
It's hard to not move your head with it.
Right, that's the initial response, right? So, and the thing is, as you get better at it, I want to increase the distance again from the near to how far you can go.
Okay.
And typically I like athletes to focus on something really far.
Okay.
So like, example, something outside like a treetop and some greenery, okay? And then keep moving it farther and farther back.
Okay.
So and that challenges your ability to hone in, and your eyes have to control the contractility of the iris, and then also the lens.
Right.
So, okay, awesome. That was
Thank
really
you.
good. Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely.
Boom! What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com, alongside my man, Dr. Stu, with his formula, Machine Motion, the Dr. Stu series. Dr. Stu, what's up with this, man?
So we designed this formulation. It's a joint formula, okay, to kind of support the book that we came out with for low back pain, right? And so we want to support the health of joints for people that are just ailing. And we put a short little, a compact little formulation together and put everything together that everybody has kind of separated into different products. So it's an all-in-one. There's a link in the description below. You can click on that, find out a little bit more information, and there it is.
Thing is, you're looking at scientifically validated dosing of key ingredients to help not only if you have lower back pain, but any kind of joint issues or if you want to prevent them. And that's not a game.